Hi, I'm Lori and I love books. Today's drink is Boiler's Light Lemonade. And I'm going to be telling you all about my book venture. I went from Williams, Arizona to the Grand Canyon on the train. I spent about 3 hours at the Grand Canyon and then took the train right back. And along the way I tried to read as many books as I could about trains. This is the second time I went on the train to the Grand Canyon. The first time was in 2019. I spent a night at Williams, took the train to the Grand Canyon, spent 2 nights at the Grand Canyon then, had a lot of fun walking pretty much everywhere in the Grand Canyon, around the Grand Canyon rim, and then I took the train right back to Williams, Arizona. That time I was in the chief car, which is the lounge car at the back. This time I was in first class, which is the Anasazi car. And I did prefer the lounge car to the Anasazi car. So next time, or if I do another trip like this, I'll probably do the lounge car instead. The trip to the Grand Canyon, I was able to read the Boxcar Children. This is the first of a series of books. It's by Gertrude Chandler Warner, and it's about 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters who are recently orphaned. They don't want to go live with their grandfather, and so they run away and find a boxcar and turn it into a little makeshift house. So it's a really cute book, very simple to read. It's from 1942. So I might try reading more of this series. I'm not really sure. It was cute, but there's just so many books out there, it's hard to choose. Then I read on my tablet Curious George Takes the Train. Curious George Takes the Train by Margaret and H.A. Ray. And it's more about Curious George in the train station as opposed to Curious George on a train. I then was able to read, this is still on the trip to the Grand Canyon, 12 pages of The Train to Impossible Places by P.G. Bell. I was a little worried that if I kept reading this, my battery would die and then I'd be frustrated because I couldn't finish it. So when I arrived at the Grand Canyon, I switched to reading, and I'm just going to call it M, on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This is the first time I've ever read anything by Agatha Christie. I have seen 2 movies based on this book. The 2011 PBS Masterpiece with David Suchet, which I really enjoyed, and then I've seen the more recent 2017 Johnny Depp version. And so I knew exactly how this book was going to end. It's about Hercule Poirot investigating a M on the train. The train winds up in a snowbank, so it's obvious that the person who did the M is still on the train, and he has to figure out who the perpetrator is. So I knew exactly how this book was going to end, but I still really enjoyed reading it. So, while at the Grand Canyon, I was able to read to Part 1, Chapter 6, which is about page 50. I was also eating lunch at the El Tovar. I walked from the El Tovar down to Bright Angel Lodge. I went to the little gift shop and did the steps down to the terraces, and then walked back to the El Tovar and rested a little bit, and then I went to the visitor center, and then I went back to the train. And it was a very hot day, so I wasn't planning on doing too much. That was pretty much all I had planned on doing at the Grand Canyon. And then on the train ride back from the Grand Canyon, I was able to read another 100 pages to Part 2, Chapter 13. The second ride back from the Grand Canyon, it was a little harder to read. It was a lot harder to read on the train in general because there was just so much talking. The attendant in the car talked a lot. The assistant conductor over the PA talked a bit. They had singers come and play their guitar, which I remember that from the first time, but I don't remember it being so loud and so many songs. And the second guitar player was definitely offended that I wanted to read my book, but I paid for this trip, so I should get to do what I want on it, especially when it's not hurting anybody. And it's like, I am hearing impaired, so, you know, show a little niceness, I think. But other than that, it was a fun trip, but it was very hard to read on the train. So I think next time when I do a book venture, I'll do the adventure part first and then the reading sprint after. Then, after I ate dinner and drove home, I reread Steam Train, Dream Train 1, 2, 3 by Sherry Dusky Brinker and Tom Lichtenheld. And this is a numbers book that has the train car and then the numbers 1 through 10. And it has cute little animals and it rhymes. And I read this quite a bit with the children at work, and it is a really fun little book. And I know there's other Steam Train, Dream Train books. I then read Freight Train by Donald Cruz. This is a book that just goes over the color of the car and what type of train car it is. And I'll probably donate that to work when I go back to work after the summer. And then I read The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. And I wasn't sure if I had read this as a child, and after reading it, I did read this as a child. But it was nice to reread, and they do a Polar Express train ride in November and December, and I have not personally been on it, but some of the children I work with have gone on, and they are very excited about it, so I might try that sometime in the future. I then went back and finished M on the Orient Express. And so I was able to read on my first ever book venture 2 chapter books and 1, 2, 3, 4 picture books. So I think that was quite an impressive amount of reading for one book venture. What do you think about this? Where would you go on a book venture? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see some pictures of my trips, that will be on my Instagram at Lori_lovesbooks. And until next time, have a lovely time reading. Bye!